Hello, everybody. I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about some horror stories from abandoned theme parks. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe before we begin. Now for our first story. We will be heading over to Pennsylvania and to an amusement park known as Idlewild and Soak Zone. They rode all of the rides until finally they got to the carousel. The park was open from 1974 to 2007. And if you ever visited, you may have noticed something strange, a giant skeleton in the middle of the park. The park's main entrance was built into the rib cage of this massive T-Rex skeleton. It was such a focal point of the park that even the park's logo featured the dinosaur. It's safe to say that this park was known for its many roller coasters. In fact, they were known as the most extreme roller coasters on the West Coast. Some of their most popular included Gold Striker, Earthquake, the Giant Drop, and Demon. The carousel was old, like really old. It didn't look like it had been updated since the 1940s. Unfortunately for Mary Lou, she ended up getting stuck on this ride. She sat there for several minutes until finally she was rescued. What made this situation so awful, however, was the fact that she had lost her dentures. She had special needs and required these dentures to be able to talk. Without them, she was unable to communicate with anyone. Park employees were aware of this, but they still allowed her to ride the tilt-a-whirl. After this horrible experience, her mother vowed to never return to the park again. When the park closed down, several people showed up to take one last ride on their favorite attractions. Some of these people were crying because they had formed such strong bonds with the park. It was more than just a place for them to go and have fun. It was a second home. This ride, however, was not part of the original 1878 design. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time. It was actually added in 1962. It is safe to say that this carousel did not pass modern safety inspections. Nevertheless, they let kids ride it without adult supervision. Jessica told her parents that she wanted to ride the carousel by herself. She then proceeded to hop onto a horse and began to move it up and down with her feet. The carousel started moving, but something was wrong. It was moving much faster than it should be. Jessica tried to stop the horse, but it just kept going faster and faster. Then suddenly, the horse bucked Jessica off, and she fell right onto the floor. She suffered a broken arm and a concussion, but no one came to help. No workers, no park security, and no one from her family had witnessed the entire incident. Jessica was left alone in pain for hours until her parents finally found her. They then took her to the first aid office, which was locked up for the night. Jessica's mom had to search for a worker who could help her daughter. By the time that Jessica got home, her arm was completely numb from the injury. Her parents had to take her to the hospital, where she received treatment for her injuries. But what's the craziest part of this story? The next day, they returned to the park to find that the carousel had been shut down. Jessica's parents demanded to speak to the manager, but he refused to come out and speak with them. They were given a refund and sent on their way. The amusement park opened way back in 1878 and is the oldest operating amusement park in the United States. Now, despite it being one of the oldest, it's also one of the smallest. In 2009, the park only had 2 roller coasters. So small, in fact, that they only have enough rides to fill up one day. That means that if you want to go and visit, you're going to have to go on multiple days to get the full experience. The park is also known for having a large number of flat rides. In 2001, a girl by the name of Jessica went to the park with her family. For our next story, we will be heading over to California and to the now abandoned California's Great America. In 1976, a girl by the name of Mary Lou Retton was visiting the park with her family when she decided to go and ride the tilt-a-whirl. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Which of these stories was your favorite? Which park would you like to visit? Let me know your thoughts. What could be scarier than a haunted house or a creepy doll? How about an entire abandoned theme park filled with both? From a sinister clown statue to a haunted mansion, here are some true horror stories from abandoned theme parks that will make you never want to step foot inside one again. The park opened in 1978 and was going strong for years. But after a string of bad publicity, including 2 deaths and a robbery, attendance plummeted and the park was forced to close its gates for good in 2001. Park del Este was once a bustling park full of families enjoying the attractions. The park opened in 1978 as part of the Marine World theme park, but closed just 2 years later due to a lack of funding. The park was a popular spot for families during the summer months, but after a nearby motel caught fire and a child drowned in the wave pool, people stopped visiting and the park was abandoned. Urban explorers have since discovered the rotting wave pool liner, which is covered in moss and looks more like a swamp monster than a friendly water attraction. The upside-down slides also look like gaping maws ready to swallow anyone who dares enter. One urban explorer commented, "It really felt like I had stepped into another world." The slides were covered in vines and the wave pool was filled with creepy crawlies. I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched the entire time. Many of the rides and attractions fell into disrepair almost immediately after closing, but one of the most popular rides, the log flume, remained relatively intact. That is until 2002, when a fire destroyed much of the structure. Today, the burnt-out remains of the ride are still visible from the parking lot. But what makes the log flume so creepy is the fact that 2 people died on the ride just months before it closed. One woman was killed when she hit her head on a support beam, and a man drowned after falling out of his log. Guests say their ghosts still linger around the ride, shaking the logs and even interacting with guests. One former employee told the Daily Mail, "It was like something out of the Twilight Zone. I heard screams, and then I saw the log move on its own. I thought, oh my God, what was that? Then I saw a woman standing at the edge of the flume. She was soaking wet and looked like she had fallen out of the ride. When I asked her if she was okay, she just stared at me, and then she disappeared." But after several murders and a string of bad publicity, people stopped coming to the park, and it was abandoned. Now urban explorers can wander through the derelict site and snap photos of the decaying buildings and rides. One of the most eerie images they captured was of a clown statue staring directly at guests with its lifeless eyes. There's something about the idea of a grinning clown frozen mid-performance that's truly unnerving. And the thought of children being murdered on the very same ground sends chills down your spine. One urban explorer commented, "The whole place gives me goosebumps. The energy here is unlike any other place I've ever traveled." Since then, it's been left abandoned, and locals have snuck in to explore the decaying buildings and rides. One of the creepiest things they found was a broken-down car on the roller coaster tracks. It turned out the car had been there since 1999, when a maintenance worker was run over and killed by another worker who had fallen asleep at the wheel. His body stayed in the car overnight, and then nobody noticed him missing until the next day. The ghost is said to haunt the ride, shaking it and even interacting with people. A security guard who worked at the park told the New York Post, "There's no mistaking it. The ghost is definitely still here." The first story comes from Six Flags, New England, an amusement park located in Massachusetts. Our next story is about an abandoned water park in Texas called Rapids. The park opened in 1978, but closed just 3 short years later in 1981 due to a lack of visitors. Ever since, it has sat empty, and locals have explored the grounds only to find a creepy atmosphere and graffiti-covered walls. In 2013, someone posted an image on Reddit of a mysterious figure they found while exploring. The figure appeared to be a life-sized mannequin dressed in clothes and sitting on a bench. Some believe the mannequin is cursed and brings bad luck to those who see it. One Reddit user commented, "I visited the water park last year, and there were quite a few unsettling things. However, this particular thing was not one of them. I walked past that exact bench, and I recall thinking how creepy it was to see something so lifelike yet inanimate in such a desolate place. Now let's travel south to an abandoned theme park in Mexico. Our next story takes us to an abandoned amusement park in California called Marine World Africa. We end our list at an abandoned water park in North Carolina called Whitewater Park. If you love scary stories, stay tuned for more. There are thousands of abandoned theme parks all across the world, most of them left to rot after an economic downturn or natural disaster. Some of these parks have rides that are still fully functional, while others are just a shell of their former selves. And as you might expect, many of these abandoned amusement parks are rumored to be haunted. So with Halloween right around the corner, let's take a look at some of the scariest abandoned theme parks in the world. Drayton Manor, England. Drayton Manor was a popular theme park in the UK that operated for over 80 years. Since then, the park has sat abandoned and plans to reopen it have fallen through due to a lack of funding. One of the scariest things about this park is that it is located in an area that is known for paranormal activity. The nearby town of Louisville is said to be one of the most haunted cities in America, and there have been reports of strange lights and sounds being heard at the park, leading many to believe that it's haunted by the spirits of those who died there. It was opened in 1920 and closed in 1999 due to a lack of funding for repairs and upkeep. But like many other parks, it's no stranger to rumors of paranormal activity. One of the scariest rides at the park is the Behemoth, a steel roller coaster that opened in 2008. Many riders have reported feeling a sudden drop in temperature while on the ride, leading some to believe that it is haunted by the ghost of a former employee who was killed while working on the ride. There have also been reports of strange figures being seen on the ride's track when no one is supposed to be there. It was founded in 1929 and is still open today, but it's rumored that there are a few ghosts that call the park home. Or if you're looking for something else to watch, check out another video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. But like Nobles, it's rumored that there are a few ghosts that haunt the park. The most famous is a man named William Howard, who died in 1912 while riding the park's first roller coaster. It's said that his ghost can be seen on the ride's track from time to time. There is also a carousel at the park that is rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a young boy who fell off the carousel and was killed in 1899. One of the most famous is a man named John Noble, who died in 1963 while working on a new roller coaster. It's said that his body was never recovered and that he haunts the area around the ride. There is also a log flume ride at the park that is rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a young woman who drowned in the flume many years ago. The park was then sold to developers who planned to turn it into a housing estate. However, this plan fell through, and the park remains abandoned to this day. It's rumored that the ghost of a little girl named Helen Walker haunts the park. She drowned in the boating lake in 1924, and her body was never recovered. Visitors and staff have reported seeing her ghost, as well as hearing the sound of children laughing and playing on the rides, even though there's no one there. Nobles Amusement Resort, Pennsylvania. Nobles is one of the oldest family-owned amusement parks in the United States. Lake Compounce, Connecticut. Lake Compounce is the oldest continuously operating amusement park in the United States. It was opened in 1846 and is still open today. Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, Kentucky. Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom was a popular theme park that opened in 1987. It closed in 2001 when the lease on the land expired. Canada's Wonderland, Ontario. Canada's Wonderland is one of the most popular amusement parks in Canada. Now, if you want to learn more about abandoned places, check out our video on abandoned hospitals. From ghosts to missing persons, here are some horror stories from abandoned theme parks. Six Flags, Great America, and now defunct Six Flags Great America in Santa Clara, California, was once a popular amusement park that opened in 1976. It was known for its thrilling roller coasters and fun atmosphere. But behind the scenes, rumors swirled of strange occurrences that made the staff uneasy. The most famous of these is the story of the deranged killer who stalked the park in 1929. On Labor Day, a man dressed as a woman attacked two young sisters with an axe, killing one and leaving the other paralyzed. Ghost Train was a popular ride at England's Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach, but in 1932 it was destroyed by a fire that claimed the lives of two young sisters. The blaze started shortly after the girls entered one of the carriages and quickly spread throughout the wooden structure. The fire was so intense that the bodies of the sisters were never recovered, and the ride was never rebuilt. Some say the ghost of the girls can still be seen on the old railway tracks, while others claim to hear their screams on windy days. Is there any truth to these spooky stories? Or are they just the product of overactive imaginations? The killer was never caught, and the park was tainted by the crime. Rumors spread that the grounds were cursed, and the park's attendance plummeted. To make matters worse, a series of strange accidents and deaths occurred in the following years, leading some to believe that the killer's spirit still lurked the park grounds. One of the most popular rides at the park was the American Eagle, a wooden roller coaster that wound through the trees. But beneath the surface of this fun-filled destination lies a dark secret. Back in 1926, a woman named Mabel Walker disappeared while visiting the park with her husband and two children. Despite an extensive search, her body was never recovered, and the case remains unsolved to this day. Some believe that Mabel was the victim of foul play, while others suspect she may have simply wandered off and gotten lost. However, there have been numerous reports of a woman who looks exactly like Mabel appearing on the park's old carousel. Could this be the ghost of Mabel herself, forever searching for her lost children? Or is there another explanation for this eerie sighting? It was a rough ride that rattled the passengers' bones, but it was also a rite of passage for many thrill seekers. But one day in 1989, everything changed. A young woman named Jill Tracy Brown was riding the American Eagle when she fell to her death. She had been leaning out of the car when she lost her balance and was flung from the ride. The accident sent shockwaves through the park, and the ride was immediately shut down. Although an investigation found that the ride was not at fault and no foul play was suspected, the tragedy left a dark cloud over the park. Many employees claimed that they saw Jill's ghost on the ride after her death, and some even reported hearing her screams on windy days. Others said they felt a sudden drop in temperature or the sensation of being pushed or shoved while standing in line for the ride. Eventually, the park tried to move on, but the shadow of the tragedy lingered. In 2004, the park announced that it would be closing. And when the new owners came in, they decided to demolish American Eagle. Before they did, however, they invited Jill's family and friends to take one last ride on the roller coaster. The Haunting of Canobolas. Canobolas is an abandoned theme park located near Orange County, California. It was once a popular spot for families and thrill seekers alike. But today, it's a shadow of its former self. The park is rumored to be haunted by several ghosts, including a little girl who drowned in the park's lake and a maintenance worker who was electrocuted on the job. Visitors have reported seeing apparitions, hearing disembodied voices, and feeling a sudden drop in temperature. Some have even experienced physical contact from unseen forces. As if that weren't enough, there have also been reports of strange animal behavior around the park, with birds and other animals seemingly drawn to the area despite the lack of food or water. Is there something sinister lurking in the shadows of the abandoned theme park? Noble's Amusement Resort. Noble's Amusement Resort in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania, has been entertaining families for generations, but this beloved park has its share of dark secrets. Kentucky Kingdom. Kentucky Kingdom in Louisville, Kentucky is a popular amusement park that draws in crowds of thrill seekers every year. The Mystery of Ghost Train. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, stay tuned for more content.